So that we're moving right forward, alright?
Yeah.
You want me, okay, now I'm back.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright. We can call to order at 5:18 on the button. Well, I guess we can just ask if there's any changes to the agenda at all for today.
Everybody's here.
Well, but we can have John introduce himself so viewers at home understand who you are.
John Earl, I'm a civil engineer with Harriman. Been working on the project, the site design, both at the Forside Road site and the Fairground site. And Mark had asked me to look at some of the costs for developing both of the sites. I do have some numbers to share tonight with the committee, just to kind of high level comparison between the two, and happy to share those as part of the agenda.
Yes, thank you. Any changes to this agenda?
Just a minor one on number 4, the select board meeting was me and Allison.
Correct.
That's all.
Do you want to report how it went or?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's.
That's next.
Yeah, yes. That's the only change in agenda that
Great.
So,
Need a motion for that?
We don't, technically, yes, but since there was a change, we do have to make the motion.
sure.
Motion to accept the change to the agenda.
Great.
Okay.
That's a second.
I second.
Yes.
Okay,
All in favor? Yes.
great. And now the update?
So, Allison and I went and did the update to the select board. It went pretty quick, pretty smooth. I had a few questions, not too much.
No.
I don't remember specifically what the questions were, do you?
I think we tried to give a high level overview of the steps taken since the last time we had met with them. So basically a rundown of what we had done this year since January and
And where we're at now.
and where we were at now. So I think they did have a couple of other questions. As, you know, like what was some of the feedback we got in January, what was some of the things that people were most interested in.
Yeah, the top number, the
Yeah.
top
So,
items.
you know, some stuff that we had previously discussed with them, but
Yeah.
it went very quickly, and I think they appreciated us coming in and just giving them.
I was pleased that every selectman except one made a nice comment, one we didn't hear from,
Yeah.
but all the others made very positive comments.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you for stepping in. I guess we can move on to, there is, look at that, we'll give you a moment to get comfy. Thank you.
While he's setting up, can I just briefly go off topic? Everyone got the pictures from Leslie and I's visit to Jamoscata, the Y there. And granted, we know it's a Y, but oh my gosh. That was so nice. What a program they have going there. They really offer a lot. The building was a lot bigger than what I anticipated. The parking lot was jammed full. They have a lot of childcare that they offer, especially being a Y. There's a very big need in their community. I also got the impression that they have a lot of donors, and probably some heavy hitters. They had a beautiful donor wall that you saw in the pictures, which I thought was great. But we got a really nice tour. Again, the elevated walking track was another highlight. And it was really nice because as you go around where they have like little spaces to use up all that space, they had like bikes and other equipment all along the path. So like you could do, you know, however many laps you wanted to do and then take 10 minutes and do some rowing or go on a bike or whatever the case may be. So.
And there was gymnastics on one side of it too, so you could picture the kids being down in the gymnastics area, walking the track, and you can still keep an eye on your kids. I liked that
Yeah.
a lot. I didn't want to judge you.
No, you're good.
The other thing that I noticed was it really felt community to me. There were a lot of places that had tables, there was a fireplace with a couch next to it, and just, there's art up on the walls, there was the food being offered to anybody who wanted it, lots of farm share type stuff there, picked flowers that people could have. It just, I walked in and I felt like, wow, these people are all together. It just, you walk right into the fitness area, so it's very open and just people, so just, it was really inviting in that way. And then we were there when there was a class. It was a seated level, for the most part, a seated level activity.
Like a yoga type.
Yeah.
For older people.
Yep, and then it was also a balance class and highly attended, they say 60 people in each
Yeah.
class, so people were just streaming in. And that's what I thought was so cool too, but it just felt like everybody was greeting each other when they came, it just was such a nice feel to it.
Do you guys remember or know Lisa Gilbride from Topsham? Lisa was the tennis pro up there forever.
Oh, and now
That was
it's
where she
Georgia.
was, yeah,
Remember,
and now
do you know
it's
Georgia?
Georgia Allers.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's there, we saw her,
But
yeah.
Lisa retired and Georgia took over.
Yeah, and everybody was saying, giving us business cards, let us know if there's anything you need to know, really, really open. So, I thought that.
When was that built?
It was two, so they had the original building and then they added on, and I don't recall the years.
You might wanna just say what prompted it, is it?
Oh, so after we did the select board presentation, Allison and Leslie and I had a gentleman approach us, and he was asking us questions. And he was, like an original volunteer, I guess, because they had started at
In
one
Damascotta.
point in Damascotta to try to raise funds for a pool. And then it just kind of fizzled out. And I think it's because their focus is more on a lot of the they have so many different childcare programs and activities. And I think that was a greater need for them. But he was giving us information and talking about the facilities, so I said, hey, why don't we go take a look?
So I highly recommend you look into this.
Yeah.
I think it's about 8 years. I think that the person who gives the tour said it's been,
Oh, I
Their
think
projects-
it's, some of it's longer than that.
is it maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
I'm
it
sure.
was since there was something about 8 years, like some sort of a funding.
Upgrade, yeah,
Upgrade,
upgrade,
yes.
Cause Lisa's been there was there
Oh.
much longer than that,
So maybe it was the original smaller. The
yeah.
other thing they had was a small community space where it almost looked like something you'd see at college, where 6 people would be, at a table with a whiteboard, very simple. And then a larger conference room and then an even larger space, which is like what we've talked about. I think the gentleman thought that it was about 70 people that it would hold. So it was nice to have sort of small, medium and large and see that all along one corridor with the tables and the art, and it was very inviting. Preschool was at the end.
The gentleman who spoke to them after the meeting got appointed to one of the committees that night. I can't think of his
Is
name.
his last name Farrell? You
Yeah,
have his name and number.
Charles
Charlie
Farrell.
Farrell, yeah, that was him,
Yeah,
so.
The colors were great. Yeah, it was just nice to see it. I mean, I've seen other ones, but it's.
Yeah. Okay, back on track.
Great,
Thank you.
Now we're ready for some Harriman.
Okay, alright, so do I need to be promoted anymore?
I think I probably need to, and also allow you to share which I will do right now.
Well, yeah, I guess just, I don't need to join the six panelists, one with chair. So just kind of framing it a little bit in context of as we, as Harriman thinks about how we move from our very first exercise of the organizational diagrams and all the feedback we got from that, and then we developed those into floor plans. And then you gave us a lot of great feedback about that, and we developed essentially 2 floor plans, right? We have the single floor, and then we have the 2-story. And then the next step, logically in our mind, we think about developing one concept design, but right now we're kind of in parallel concept design, which is okay. It is extra work for us, but at some point they need to converge probably to a single. And I know cost is an important part of that consideration, which is and so we've got some comparative costs, certainly on the site. So right now we've got 2 floor plans and 2 sites, and so potentially 4 different concepts here. But and so we've looked at the site diagrams. I've got some updates on the site diagrams today with the latest floor plans, and we've started a building massing study. So I'll share just very preliminary with that. It's not very detailed at this point, but you can understand at least the scale of each of the parts relative to one another. And we've done it for the 2-story, so it'll be a little different for the single story, but let's see that. And then we've got some cost information on sites, just comparative, that John has put together, and so we'll share that as well. So that's kind of where we're at now. Some of the correspondence I think I saw suggested that you folks were providing an update to the select board. I don't know if that has occurred, and so that's also, I don't know where the next town update is, but ultimately all of this is getting to a point of being able to present, giving you folks the information you need to present to them, your recommendations at some point to move forward with something, either that it's an aspect of part of a larger effort to figure out how you're going to fund it, or what it is. But anyway, we're tasked with trying to give you a good solid concept at which then you can build these decisions from. So does that all sound right?
Mhm.
All right, so let me shift from this to the site plans here. And so this is off the effect color world, it was all zooming in here a little bit. So so the Foreside site, and this represents and where it says future expansion, it's not necessarily future, that's the outline of the pool. And so this is the single story option, so the footprint is a little bit larger. What ultimately the difference is, it doesn't look much different on the 2-story, other than that this piece right here gets stacked, as you all know, on top of this portion, and my cursor's a little like, let's see if I can blow this up a little bit more so you can see a little bit that magnifying glass somewhere over there, right? So that portion right here gets stacked up on top of this. So the entrance area sits out here a little bit. To see that. So we're showing, and so whether the pool is day 1 or not, but that's the pool portion itself right there. And I'll bring the floor plans up if necessary to remind everyone what that was. But so the parcel also shows 140 parking spaces, and so you can get a sense of the scale of that. And what 140 is, that's 4 rows of parking stalls, and so you're at what, 35 or so per row, and then the access drive comes down and shown going and connecting to Foreside Road right here. And so that happens to actually be a little bit less than the grade. You see how intense the grades are right there where the yellow lines come in, and they start to play out a little bit further right there. And so we're also showing sewer connecting down to Foreside Road as well, right there. And then on the other side, so right now we're just showing an access drive that goes around the site, around the building itself. And then you can see that the parking lot also kind of ties into where that existing gravel area is as well. We're showing some detention areas for stormwater treatment on the site itself, but you can see that we've left the ball field intact. So all this occurs outside the ball field, and in some ways provides nice access for parking for events going on the field as well. I'll go out a little bit so you can see again, the concern has always been, how close is this to the abutters? And I'm sure it's not far enough if you're an abutter, but it actually has in thinking about most developments that we're involved in, is actually a fairly generous buffer as shown right now, so.
The water line that currently is up on the upper field, actually right in between the two parking lots, that little indentation, that's where it ends, right about there right now. It's shut off at the street, but there is a water line that comes that far out on
It comes
that.
into the site that much.
Yeah.
So it comes right at that, almost where the property boundary is, Pam, or?
It's right here, Mark. Oh, you wanna go down a little?
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely.
We have a line that comes all the way to right
Oh.
about here,
Oh, okay,
okay?
all right, great.
It's underground, there's a little box that's there, you can see, and you have to have the
Yep,
wrench
the wrench to
turn
turn that on, yep, there's a valve down below. Alright, that's good to know.
Question, did you all decide that this is the best way to put the road? Cause I think we had also talked about the road going over to the other parking lot that's already there. Did I miss that, maybe the, is this?
No, that's a good question. Initially, I think we started with it over
Yes.
on this side of the
Yeah.
site. And we have flipped it over to that side, for, I believe, it's in terms of connecting up to utilities
Right.
from that point, it's better, but also I think, John, it was sightlines as well on the.
Sidelines, the sewer manhole aligns with where the access drive comes onto Forsyth Road. So the sewer connection is a logical one to come up where the access drive is coming as well. That actually came out of the design charrette a few months ago, yeah, so we, a shorter access road, we do have to overcome the steep slopes, but we would have to anyway coming up the other side as well, so I think this is a much more efficient access to that upper plateau.
And
How about
just,
sightline from that road to, cause that is a dangerous corner.
At the intersection of Winter,
Yeah.
White,
White.
that would be my only concern, is that it came further towards the basketball court a little, just because of sightline safety.
and is this the type of building that one access, one road is adequate?
For the primary access, it
Okay.
would be, so for emergency access, we talked about the fact that they would be able to get it from above.
Okay,
First
Next to
angle,
the chases,
yes.
where they get it now.
And in this area, Pam, we should be okay with land and water conservation money, right? Because this is.
Because we're not infringing, yeah, the whole upper field was not involved, and if we stay to the left of that ice rink, we don't destroy the ice rink, which Steve wants to turn into a volleyball pit. That's another thing we have to look into.
Is that this
Yeah.
portion right here?
Yeah, the bermed area.
Okay,
It currently houses croquet on Sunday.
Oh.
But that was built with LWCF money, so if we were to do anything differently with it, we'd have to incorporate that stuff.
good to know. Actually, okay, so.
It's kind of neat how it connects with the other parking lot that you already have up there. Would that be open all the time though?
No,
Only
it would
during,
be
only while it's
emergency
open?
access, it would be emergency access only.
No, but probably the parking lot could be used, it's just you couldn't come from our
It would be used for events at the field probably.
Do you have an agreement with the neighborhood up there on that?
That it would only, right now, the agreement is it's only open when there's an activity going on that field.
The, and that they actually opened the gate at that time,
Yeah, the gate is at the street.
Yep.
And we open the gate when there's an event and we close it at the end of the event.
I'm just curious whether for emergency reasons, whether it needs to be open during hours of the rec center, if that was the.
fire department would have key.
Yeah. Yeah, normally that we do often with gates, we'll have a universal key that they can use at the gate itself. But I thought your initial question might have been, the aspect of having the gravel lot there is it can overflow, so if there's, if you exceed 140 spaces, you certainly have access or more spaces right there without having to pave a lot more.
Would they go that route? I know obviously for emergency reasons you have to have two means, but fire department would likely go the other way anyway, wouldn't they?
probably.
Yeah.
But I think we could use that as overflow, the parking lot.
Yeah.
This is maybe too detailed of a question, but I'm just thinking about parking for that field. Could people park in the parking lot if they were going to that, and
There
there's
is an
enough?
open part on the gate right there where that indentation is too, that they would have access.
But I mean, of the 140 spaces, if somebody's parking there, do we still have enough parking for the community center? If we are
I
also,
think that goes into your scheduling plan with whoever is, you're not obviously. I'll be honest with you, Saturday mornings and weeknights in the spring is the busiest time on that upper field.
and maybe the overflow parking is also, maybe this is what you're saying,
Yeah.
down below where they normally park.
Yeah.
Right, so people can still park down there and walk up. And all that parking downtown.
I don't wanna go backwards, but might as well bring it forwards a little bit. If, let's just say this is the least expensive by a long shot, and we sort of need to choose this site. Would it make, if buffers are the problem with the town, does it make any sense to sort of invert that and put the building along the tree line on the current lacrosse field and then build a new field where the proposed building is?
Yeah, so what I think I understand, Steve, is you're saying, would we put the building here?
Yeah.
And then build your parking, or no, build your new field here?
Right.
Yeah, you could, it's cost.
Would it actually be more expensive, do you think,
Yeah.
with that field already being leveled and
Yep.
clean?
Yeah, just because of the development of the field itself, so you gotta excavate down, you gotta put a whole new
Yeah.
sub base on the field itself and turf and then.
Sure.
So, that's the part that would be, more
But
expensive.
then I guess you're closer to the neighborhood over there.
That's what I was just thinking, you're gonna just different houses, you different.
I was just, I become more in love with this location every time I look at it because of like the things you're doing all currently right now on the lower fields and having it all in one area is really enticing, but it just is so cool to be able to see the community center from the lower fields.
Didn't you say at one point too, there were a lot of stumps buried underneath the playing field?
Yeah, when they, Bruce Moore is the one who cleared that, like, I think it was Bruce Moore. We actually were talking about it the other night at Priscilla's wake. They cleaned the stumps and buried a lot of them. It took a lot of time rebuilding that, but we finally have a level playing field. The stumps have deteriorated, because that was 42 years ago.
A long time ago.
Relatively level.
The stumps are gone.
They're still running for sure.
If they're rotting in the ground, that usually also suggests when we go get ready to put foundations for the building, they'll end up saying that you need to excavate all of that out down to native soils and then build it back up, which also has a lot of cost.
And did Mac do the parking lot?
Mac did that back parking lot 5 years ago.
Cool, so that's, and then. And I don't know, again, we I think still are now showing a drive at the southern end and one at the, let's call it the northern side of the site.
Just from informal discussions with the fair, if they were gonna work with us, they actually even wanted to drive behind the football field. which, I'm not sure if there's enough land there, but so
Right,
that-
right along that,
Yeah, almost along the property line is what they were
right,
saying.
yeah, right there.
Avoid their parking altogether.
Ideally, yeah.
Right.
Well, I think at one point John, we had done an option that explored that, I don't think it's that I have it here, but we explored putting something that close to the side of the field. And leaving all of this contiguous, so. But this, again, this still has plenty of flexibility in terms of where we locate the building. All the utilities have to come out, I think, and head down the community way to connect to water, sewer, exactly, power, so.
It's a pretty good sized water line as far as the football field, because we had to put in enterprise trencher's technology did it to use for irrigation of the
Oh,
field. It might be as much as 4 inches.
So that, again, that just helps us get it, one common, try to bring all these utilities along the drive that we put in.
Sewer is on Elm Street, right? There's nothing up on that end, is there?
Not to my knowledge.
There's not sewer at the fairgrounds?
I think
Right cross building?
the front is, but
The
it's
front
down
part
Elm
that goes down to Elm Street goes
Yeah.
flows down.
Yes.
I think
Or you wouldn't, couldn't.
from the, where the bathrooms are. Right, that would be the furthest line, right?
I don't know, cause they've added, I don't know, I'd have to ask Tad or Mac, cause they've added camping and I don't know where those, I don't know where that water line goes.
Yeah. I think that comes off the one up by the
I mean, in any event, the water that's wanted to serve the camping is big enough to serve, especially if there's a pool. So probably the closest good sized water lines probably goes to the football field.
Okay. So that, again, we're showing 140 spaces, we're showing the same loop around, on this one, we are showing connectivity down to rail trail, should that, at some point be developed. But I think you have less sensitivity to, certainly less sensitivity to abutters here, and it has the visibility potentially from the bypass, so people would see it would be a very trafficked area.
Is that sort of a one lane connector to the rail track?
That's intended as probably even something that is just a trail width, not even a fully developed roadway, just something 6 feet or wide or so down to that. This is just diagrammatic, it shows it much larger than it actually would be. The thought process is that it's about a 6 foot trail, unless there was some reason why we want to develop it into something that could support a larger traffic.
How close does a walking trail get to this area?
It is, doesn't show here, but it is, isn't it, way up at the intersection where Community Drive comes up to the
By the
top
Red
there.
Cross.
Yeah.
By the American Red Cross.
And the other spot is down on Elm Street.
The state right now is doing its plans to widen the bypass. And I was trying to coax them into continuing the trail from Community Way down towards our lot. But they're worried they don't have enough right of way in there, especially with the wetlands that has to be preserved, so.
Does that corner of the parking lot affect their plans to widen at all? The front top right where the cursor is?
I guess we could always shift the building a little bit.
Yeah, we could,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
definitely, yeah, that could shift, but in the distances, that's 170 feet, so, yeah, this, you can see a little setback line that's 20 feet right there, so this is probably 40 feet from the property line, which is still some distance from the actual development. But absolutely, I think it could shift, or the parking could shift.
And that piece directly above us, I think is owned by the fairgrounds. There's,
That triangle.
yeah, the triangle piece.
Oh, that's on this piece up here, is it?
Yeah, I think that's owned by the fairgrounds.
Yeah, so we could kind of go right onto that line with the parking lot, right? Do you need to trail to go behind the football field?
Yeah, right.
So I wonder if they.
Yeah, again, the site, that portion of the site is relatively flat, and so the building can shift depending on where the roadway comes in and how close we want to be. It also can preserve more of the site itself for future use. That gives you a lot of flexibility potentially in the future.
That wooded area above the football field, just north of it, state had to make it as like wetland conservation in return for some of the other stuff disturbed for the bypass, so that's why they came to a lot of there.
Let's see here, and these are the concept plans that we reviewed the last time. This was the 2-story. And as I talked about that, we're starting to look at the massing of it. I'll just use some tool. Start in the corner of the overall massing of the building itself, right? So the pool component is doesn't have quite the same volume considerations as the gym portion, and so the gym portion is over on the upper, kind of tucked behind the majority of the building. Again, this is a 2-story option, so the 2-story stacks up on the front of the building over here. There'd be an entrance. That entrance lobbying element is here, and then, like I said, there's the behind the lobby itself are the locker rooms. We talked about putting the mechanical spaces and utility spaces up here, and then there's a little stair over here. So we have stair here, stair in the back, and a stair over here that belongs with that. But then the idea of potentially having transparency at the entrance so that people are invited in, and you can see a suggestion of the stair that goes up to the upper functions off of that.
I like that, I imagine that in the winter, having a couple chairs there, just being able to get the sunlight, that's really exciting.
South Portland had a big opening like that, had a lot of plants
Yeah.
and greenery that was
Yeah.
inviting.
And solar
Yeah.
heat and then.
And then there's a secondary corner, and we have to provide it exit, so we should put some shelter or exit from the pool side of it. Or, again, this is not by any means to consider a finished model, just starting to look at massing and different
Is that
things.
second door just leaving, just egress?
It can be just egress.
Okay.
What we want is a single control point for people coming in, so you know
Yeah.
everyone who's coming in and.
There's just no markings.
Correct. Looking at the function rooms over on the right hand side, and then with that administrative offices and whatnot above, and go back to the floor plan to remember everything we had down on the lower level.
Kitchen and welcome
that's right.
areas down around.
I will add one thing that we saw in Dan Roscata that was really something I hadn't thought about before, is their administrative offices were spread throughout the whole building. So you have a couple people in one section, and then you've got a couple people, like the racket people are over there, and the pool people, so it just, as we talked about, the pool people would be in their area, but it was just a nice way of, different people congregating and having an administrative person nearby. It was a bit of built-in supervision. It was kind of nice. I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah, this one I think shows that a counter here with windows so that you can serve off of it, but it can also then function for the multi-purpose room above as well.
Mm-hmm.
Upstairs right now. Up the stairs, waiting area, the office space, and the fitness center up above.
So I guess some of the things in my head are for folks that I think you have to, if we were building in our heads how we would go about doing this. Is the walking track a priority over the pool to add? Are you thinking you wanna go for I guess that's what I just wanna have a sense of, you thought about that at all?
Well, in our discussions and some of our visits, what I took away was definitely the elevated walking track. Definitely. We did have a conversation with some other people from another Y, and they said that your pool is not gonna be a big moneymaker. That being said, they all said to base it on Wisconsin's setup there. So you have the shower zero entry, and then we still have, the lap lanes. They definitely said no hot tubs, which we eliminated right from the get-go. My world, I want both. I think you start out with your wish list, and then as you get closer to the concept design prices, then you say, okay, what do we take away? That's just my 2 cents. Anybody else?
I just thought it would be helpful for Mark as they go
Yeah.
forward to know what we're really thinking, so as they really put numbers to things, you know.
I agree, I think that we go for it and we ask for everything, I mean, not everything we want, you know, we have been very analytical about all of our decisions and thought through all of them, but I think that in order to meet the needs of the community, I think we provide everything as an option, and go for it, that's what I want.
I agree. That's a
think
fair opinion. I think just based on community feedback, the elevated, or just an indoor walking track and the pool were 2 of the biggest things. So I say let's just include it all and see where we start.
I think back to some of those stats that Steve shared last time too. The elevated walking track is definitely a must in a lot of ways, but we know that's not gonna be where our money comes from.
Right.
And the second biggest thing that this community, not just Topsham, that Brunswick, that Lisbon, but everybody needs is a pool. So it seems counterproductive to say we're gonna put all this effort and all this work and all this time in to put something that doesn't have a pool. Because, I mean, if the January focus groups from a year and a half ago said anything, it was pool. So I just,
Yeah, I just felt like I
Yeah,
wanted
that's good.
Mark to
I
have
think
that
that we-
direction, so that you
Yeah.
knew where you were.
I agree, so I agree too.
So then, the next step, and again, I'm gonna let John share some initial thinking on comparative site costs. But our next step is to mass the single story, share the 2, and give you a comparative, what costs more, how much more between the single story and the 2-story. It'll just be order of magnitude, and then if there's consensus on the direction, that's when we'll get a detailed price estimate on the project itself and finalize the design on if it's gonna be single story or 2-story. So that's our process moving forward, if that makes sense.
Is that what you want?
Yes.
You do want a 1-story and a 2-story plan?
I think we have to look at all aspects.
I think if we're gonna say that we want the walking track in the pool, then I think it would be their due diligence. to look at the-
Absolutely.
And the 1 level does not include a track at all, correct?
It would include it on the outside of the basketball court.
Yeah.
Like the.
So it's still feasible to.
Yes, it's still to have the elevated track, but we end up paying, with a little more square footage with the 2-story, in the single story.
Right.
I still wonder if there's something that we could do if we ended up going with a 1-story design. And, so we had the walking track at the gym level. I still wonder if there's something like a floor to ceiling net that we could, have installed that would separate the 2 spaces so that people who were walking on the track wouldn't be,
Farley
at
Fieldhouse
risk.
has that at both.
Right, I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen that before, so it doesn't seem like it would be.
Yeah, you can, the ones I've seen, you can open and close.
They could be playing tennis at the field house at both and still run
Right.
track around the outside.
Right.
Do they have spectator seating outside of the track area, Mark, as well? And
Yep.
so that, okay, spectator seating, then the track, and then the play surface
Spectator seating is on the second level.
is on the second level.
That being said, the people that we've spoken to have said elevated track, just because of that safety issue. And just to get more usage and to it's easier to keep clean, cause you don't have people going across to get to courts and that sort of thing.
Winter's a big deal.
Winter, yeah,
What do we lose again if we weren't going up to a second level?
So that, we don't have the, sort of about the elevators and stairs are the two big things that we have, that when we put all that function up above, we end up with egress and the elevator.
Don't we lose a fitness center?
No, because it actually comes down and it grows in the front of the building, so we take that same footprint right here and we push it down to this area right here, single story.
Okay.
So more compact footprint, which is
Oh,
gonna
yeah, sorry.
save us a little bit on foundations and
Because that
stuff
turns
like
into a
that,
conference
but.
room, right?
And then what's would be interesting to see is your trade-off is you've got potentially a little less surface area on the two-story, but because you don't have as much roof and foundation on the double story, so it's gonna be interesting to see the trade-offs of the additional square footage versus the compactness and the efficiency of volume. And that's gonna be an interesting exercise for me to come back with some numbers for you to say, okay, what's gonna be less expensive?
Trying to read the minds of what the select board are gonna want. And if it's going to be beneficial to them to have the 1-story and the 2-story, or if that's gonna be confusing. I feel like in some ways we've been charged with, what is it that you recommend? From what you've learned, what do you recommend? So I is there anything there that we should consider? Is it best to give
I think the best thing is to let Mark do his numbers. And
on
then
both of them?
if it's close, then they may say,
Okay.
but if it's like, oh my God, it's 10 million more one way or the other, then you guys can feel comfortable saying, let's rule out the extra 10 million.
Okay.
I agree, like, I think I agree with what you're saying, that when you get to the point of presenting it, we say that this is our top
Okay,
choice, but we could also highlight the fact that we did also review these other options as well.
okay, I like that.
But I think we're not there
So
yet.
we're doing our due diligence to learn the options,
Yeah.
and then we will, when
and
we
do
go to
our
the
best
select board,
recommendation.
we're going with one
Yes.
option, okay,
That would be,
that makes
that would be
sense.
my recommendation, I
Yes.
come with some preliminary information for you to make that decision.
Exactly,
And
okay,
then,
great,
the benefit of, they both have this very similar functionality, with the exception of if you're putting the track on the lower level, then there is a compromise, I think, in the elevator track it's just easier, it's a track and it's not used for anything else, you don't have any interference. If you put it down the lower level to the point I was making earlier, you get a little bit, it's sort of on the same level and access to the inner courts is through it, so other than that, you have the same functionality, it's just gonna be which one's cost less. So that's I think, we'll all know that, probably at our next meeting, so.
Can I ask a roof question?
Mhm.
Is it gonna be flat industrial-like, or can it be New Englandy looking like these two buildings are with the slanted roof?
Well, it can be, but I'll one of the things that consider is that the scale of this is a very, very large relative to a pitched roof, and so it won't look New England style, it'll look like a very, very large industrial building with a large pitched roof. So that it can be both, it'll have a much, it'll cost a little bit more just because the volume that you're creating and the structure that you are using to create it is a little bit more, but we can study a pitch on the roof as well. I can show you what that looks like, just basically.
Thank you.
Could possibly have a height issue too, if we did a 2-story building with a big pitched roof.
Yeah, to look at it, oftentimes the restrictions are either at 35 feet, then it goes to 60 something feet, and so but yeah, we're gonna be pushing 35 feet easily by putting a pitch on it, so that typically we want 22 plus minus on the underside of structure and basketball court, and so then we'll have probably 4 feet of structure and then roofing, so think about 5 feet above that, so we're starting to push to the high 20s, almost 30 feet, and then if you put a pitch on it, well, what that does.
And Topsham has a minimum and a maximum for height, right? And do you know what those are?
I'm not sure in that zone, I know with the building over here at Union Park, I think it's 40 feet is what the maximum is, but it may not be that high, that's a.
Especially if it's a foresight. So we're financial.
And speaking of height, if we did the 2-story one down on the Forsyth Road field, is any part of that building visible from Forsyth Road?
Well, that's an interesting.
Because I always like to see it from a distance, like, oh yeah, it's up there. But if it's not visible, it's okay, but I just
But then
wondering.
again, will the residents be able to see it over
Yeah.
the trees?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, how far back it is.
It's on a hill too.
Yeah, exactly, on the hill.
See it, 'cause you really can't see the field. You can
Yeah,
see
that's a
field,
good way of
so
thinking about it too, it's really pushed back in.
you have to be really tall.
Well, I don't have the visual, so I.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I'm still trying to think outside the box for a walking track on the first floor. I'm still just wondering how on earth it's possible. So as you just said something about, what's that? What'd you say?
I agree, totally.
Right, so
And
this is
maintenance
my
wise,
latest
it-
visual,
it
right?
will be a
Is
constant
an
babysitting
elevated,
job.
walking track, right? So picture the whole basketball courts, and on the outside, you have a ramp that goes up 6 feet to the elevated walking track all the way around the outside. It's accessible for wheelchairs, it's accessible for people with disabilities, there's no elevators, there's no anything, but it's just something that's on the very outside of the building, of the room itself. I don't know, just said, Kim, as you said, elevated walking track, I'm like, what about a sort of elevated?
Like suspended
Yeah, almost where, and then like you could, it's almost like you could walk the external and you see into the space. Are you visualizing what I'm talking about?
You know, the neat thing about that is then that could be a DS speaking event. You know, how we talked about whether you want a stage or not.
yeah.
You could use that walking track in the gym.
You could stand up there and have a little presentation, sure.
Would it
I know.
go like behind the bleachers?
We'll go behind the bleachers, so that none of that is affected. You have that super contained space, but it's the outside. And
So we're going wider and longer.
Exactly.
Versus-
But by 6
I'm not
or
gonna
10
lie.
feet, by 10 feet,
So,
okay, go ahead, architect.
no, so you're gonna.
Lounge bar.
Well, what you're going to do here, so to put it down on, well, if it's not above all the seating, then you're gonna expand your building, and when you expand it by 10 feet or so, you think of the length that you're expanding by, that's a significant amount of volume that, or significant amount of area that we're adding to the building itself, and so the cost of that, and we can't ramp up 6 feet, that's 72 inches, which requires 72 feet of ramp, plus actually a bunch of landings within it, you can't just go on 72 feet. So you would likely have a lift or an elevator anywhere. And so if you're gonna do that, you might as well put it up above your seating so that you don't have to expand the whole building, so that it actually is sitting above the seating, and the seating is down here and the walkway is above. So that's, the efficiency of elevating it is so you don't have to build your building much larger.
Yeah.
And you're gonna cost more to hang it from the structure, but you're already building structure, so you just have to reinforce the structure to hold onto the track itself. So you're more efficient, I think, in a lot of ways that you can elevate, but it does also require that, you know, we think about access to it, so it may, again, make more sense that it falls with the 2-story scheme, because you'd have to have access up there anyway. And so I think, but I think the idea of putting it 6 feet has some logistical problems, so that's all.
Nice try though, Liz.
But it was neat, it was listening to like,
I digress, go ahead.
It was fun for a second.
Take that effort.
Corkscrew.
That's about right.
Jetpacks.
right. So.
No fire poles.
That's,
No, sorry.
Fine, there we go, those aren't safe, so, but we have, so John, are you ready to share a little bit of comparative? I can bring up from I'm on the server. Oh, you know that as well?
Yeah.
If you want to do that. From my- Alright, so site development, what we're gonna share, should plug in for start content. Alright, I'll share this now, so it says Excel spreadsheet, which is never something that's fun to present, but I think it'll just at least give you some indication of how it was developed. And so back to the Zoom. Alright. Again, it's
Patrick, could you move your mic towards John, just so that he can be heard? Thank you.
If you want to scroll just to the end, there's 2 tabs.
so yeah, so
Next
what yeah,
So it's
so
very granular in how I came up with the numbers, but
Okay.
on the last page of each of the tabs has the summary of the cost estimate for both sites, one for Forsyth, one for the fairgrounds. So what drives costs for both of these sites really is the length of the utility connections from the nearest road to the building, the amount of pavement, the amount of gravel underneath the pavement. So what I came up with first for the fairgrounds was a base cost of about 1.585 or so million, and then we had our contingencies, which are pretty robust, I would say, or at this stage of the process, with contingencies, contractor mobilization, general conditions, overhead profit, that sort of thing. So for the fairgrounds, I came up with about 2.1 million in site development costs, and again, that assumed the water connection coming from Community Drive, sewer connection from Community Drive, and I'm learning, some other utility connection savings, especially for Forsyth Road, that I can certainly sharpen my pencil a little bit. But the access drive from Community Drive to the building site at the fairgrounds is much longer than what we have at Forsyth Road. So more pavement, more gravel under the pavement, more earthwork, all of that cumulatively adds up to more cost at the fairgrounds. So then, Mark, if you toggle over to Forsyth Road, I came up with a base cost of about 1.2 million, and then with all the contingencies, mobilization, et cetera, for a total of 1.7 million. Again, that's much shorter water connection, really saves a lot of money, not having to come up the entire access road for Forsyth. I assumed a pump station at the fairgrounds because I just don't know. It seems so flat that it probably is a safe assumption. You probably need a pump station at the fairgrounds. At Forsyth Road, obviously that's a gravity sewer connection down the hill and down the Forsyth Road. So that's a pretty big site development cost savings there. So those are some of the cost drivers at the end of the day that I saw as I was pulling together my numbers. But generally speaking, at this stage of the game, I came up with about a $400,000 savings in site development between Forsyth Road and Fairgrounds.
John, can you clarify, what the general conditions entails? Because that's a 15% the cost up there. What is meant by general conditions?
Right, either one of them.
yeah, it doesn't matter. So the contractor requires that they have to, they charge you for the showing up, so the trucks, the personnel, all the contractors' costs to be on site to do the work. They actually charge you for that. That's what the general conditions are. So
Okay.
they have to have porta potties, if they, all of that stuff that they require, just their overhead to be on the site
Okay,
itself.
gotcha. And then mobilization is just
That, yeah, that's.
getting there?
That's for them to start up the project to software and a whole bunch of other,
Prep work, tape.
more of that is more administrative at their office.
Okay,
mobilization, and sometimes it's bringing trailer out, setting up a trailer. But sometimes that's in the general conditions as well, so.
Okay, alright.
And general conditions is governed by how long the schedule is, and so the longer the schedule, the more you have to pay them to be on site to manage the work, so that grows as well.
And was the bond and insurance, was that the same at both sites?
Yes,
Yeah.
3% of the construction cost, yeah.
Okay.
So all of those are a percentage of the subtotal, so as the subtotal grows, that percentage grows as well.
Right, okay.
This includes bringing the three-phase power too.
Oh, sorry.
Do the estimates include bringing in the three-phase power too?
I assumed at this stage of the game, without doing the full design, just the cost of running conduit and running the power underground from at the fairgrounds, from Community Drive, and then up Forsyth, from Forsyth Road. So more detailed design certainly needs to happen, but yeah, I would certainly need to look into that in more detail to make sure I get what that costs.
I'm curious what we originally, just I think we see where. Yeah, I don't think I broke out the site cost independently on these estimates yet, so somewhere we assume the site cost is inside of them, so. I'll go back to the spreadsheet.
You're actually closer than I thought.
I found myself going quite with the neighborhood for $500,000. Or, you know, Bill, I mean, those were the things that were in my head.
And the other thing I'm thinking about is there benefit to the town of Topsham over time for us to have this already set up, like the sewer and the water and the electricity on that site, on this site, on the fairgrounds site? In time, like I'm thinking the same thing.
I think we're being beneficial to the Fair Association.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know
And
how
maybe
they'll
over
feel
time.
about it, but I think to some of them, that would be a benefit.
The added benefit to the fairground site is if this trail comes to pass, which
Yes.
is, at least right now, there's no money to pay for any of it, but the legislature has now said that it can be started to turn into a trail. So the added benefit of the fairground site is we would serve not only this, but would have a nice place to park and connect and use that trail. But that trail is not that far, you know, if we end up bringing it, say, down to grade at Elm Street, it's not that far from our Forsyth Road complex either, so theoretically, people could still park at Forsyth Road complex and ride their bike or walk down to the trail. We do have sidewalks go all the way to Forsyth Road complex.
As of tonight.
Maybe a different way to look at this is, if bid prices were to come in higher at just rough numbers, the Forsyth Road costs about 80% of what the fairgrounds, you know, calling it 1.6, 1.7. Fairgrounds is a little over 2 million, so if the prices were to inflate, that delta grows. So if that became 2.5 million, that 500,000 becomes 6, 7, 800,000. So I wouldn't necessarily get fixed on the 500,000, but that spreads as you know, the climate change, the climate potentially changes, so.
The other potential issue with the fairground site is, from my very preliminary discussions, and kind of, basically, they're open to keep talking with us, but it's not a, yes, please go ahead. As I mentioned, they'd really like to have the road on the north side of the football field, which I'm not sure there's room for that. So the only way to make that happen would be then to either try to shift the football field down some, which would now add more cost to the process.
You know how eggs are $2.99 instead of $3, cause it sounds better? I think to the townspeople and the selectmen, under 2 mil it sounds better. The 1.743.
That's just part of the development cost of a much larger picture.
It's an easier sell, I think, when it's under what you're expecting than just over.
To Steve's point earlier, I kind of feel like when we were looking at the site maps, kind of really liked the fact that the community center, the ball fields, the basketball courts, it was all kind of in the same place. And then when we looked at the fairgrounds, it was like, okay, but it's just a building sitting out in the middle of the woods that could connect to a walking trail. But I kind of felt like on some levels, even though I know it's gonna add to the congestion if I go that way.
Yes.
But I don't know, it feels almost like Not all the way up to this point, I was fairgrounds, but looking at it on the actual map, I feel more foresight.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you.
That's allowed.
Only because the thing that keeps sticking in my mind is the fairground site is closer to the schools and the Highlands, and it would be a much bigger draw. Easier to access. As well as obviously Main Street, and as we're trying to create that sense of, you know, downtown and community and togetherness, the fairgrounds just makes, it's much more identifiable, it just makes more sense to me
And visible,
overall.
you'd
And
say.
visible. You know, I'm thinking of like the police patrolling, I mean, how many times do they probably go on bypass as opposed to you know, I'm sure they would do it obviously, but you know, that's just a quicker patrol and just much more visible nighttime and whatever, so.
Membership would be affected, if you're trying to reach Lisbon, Bath, Freeport, all the surrounding towns. The Highland,
bypass makes sense.
the bypass makes way more sense. There's already a traffic light there.
We could
Does this
always-
include the building, I mean, we probably would have to put a traffic light in at Forsyth too, correct?
This is not assuming
I didn't
any
assume any
offsite
offsite.
improvements, yeah.
Remember way back we talked about, these types of buildings are best accessed from a road that is a certain mile per hour? Remember that conversation?
We had, yeah, I think what we try to do is to have something that's about 45 miles an hour or less. I'm assuming both would be pretty close, I don't know how.
Forsyth is 35
It's
miles.
30, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking
So-
more about the fairgrounds, what's the
And they
mile?
want us to.
The bypass is like 5 miles an hour.
Well, of course, there's a light at Liberty Drive though.
Right, yeah, you can get in,
And that sort of negates the miles per hour.
because your speed on community drive is very quiet.
It's a four-way intersection.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's not.
The issue is that to have a facility that brings a lot of volume on a very high-speed roadway causes safety concerns, but, so that's why that 45 mile an hour limit is generally, you know, one that we look at a threshold, but here, I think both sides are comfortable in that.
Marta, how long out is it for the bypass to be expanded?
Next couple of years, it's pretty quick.
It's good, okay.
How are they gonna do that? Are they gonna do it on both sides of the existing road, do you know?
I haven't seen the plan yet,
Oh, okay.
so.
I was just curious how that was gonna work, because when you go through the light before you get to Main Street, that walking path is fairly close in certain areas. So I was just
Yeah,
wondering
I'm
how
sure
that
that
was
moving the
gonna.
walking path, but yeah, it could well be outside.
Yeah, I was just curious. Okay, moving on.
And it could be it. Cause the fairgrounds would really like to keep the access road without getting people going to the fairgrounds. But it might be, and I hope to God we wouldn't have to move the goalpost knowing what it took getting those into the ground.
I remember that.
But the announcing tower, I think if that was moved to the other side of the field, you might be able to leave the field where it is and then have the road as a type of
Oh, yeah.
a barrier between them.
I bet they'd love a new announcing tower built, to be honest. Have you ever gone up in that thing?
Oh, I know who built it. It was all, beautiful thing about the football field, it was all donated work.
It's not
Yeah.
insulting, I get
Barracks.
scared going up there.
But yeah, it's all donated, so, you know. I bet we
Is that codes and?
could know some people
No
that.
way.
Someone put a
New
deck
tower?
on it later, I wasn't there when the deck was at,
Oh.
the original tower was built by someone at Harpswell.
So-
Trapdoor.
I think our next charge is to continue to evolve in comparative cost terms, the two schemes. We'll do a little bit of tuning up on the massing, but I think the next meeting is to see if we can perhaps get to what the preferred concept is. We'll still have some development post to that, but then if we get to that, then that's when we can work on the detailed cost estimate and refining the design itself. And that's kind of what we're trying to drive for.
If the committee is in agreement, would you say that we do the pool like Wisconsin's? Because right now it's just showing us
It's allowed,
lanes,
right,
correct?
exactly, right, exactly, yeah.
So we're talking about a recreational pool.
The shallow side of it that,
Yeah. Both aspects of it. What else do you need from us, Mark?
that's it for this step. So again, getting re-engaged is good. We'll continue to evolve things here. I think, like I said, the next meeting will be a little more focused on the comparative cost of the two versus single story site, or two versus single story building. And again, an update on evolving the massing a little bit further. You see the single story massing. We'll look at the option of pitched roof on some of the high volumes, something, just a sense of that. And then the hope is can come away from that with direction so that we can push to get a final design, concept design. And then from the final concept design, then we'll know the materials that we can then do the final pricing.
Realistically, what would be your time frame between here and the end where we're ready to present to the select?
So if in the current cadence, it would be 3 more meetings. So
Could we tighten up the meetings and do them more often? Our charge is currently through September, is that right?
I think it's doable to get that done.
If you want, I can put you in touch with the head of the sewer district too.
That'd be great, yeah.
I think it's gonna be a lot more expensive for the fairgrounds than the field.
I did carry that pump, I did carry a pump station, but if it's further than I thought to make that connection, Elm Street, I think was mentioned. And I also, for water at Forsyth, I carried it out to the road, and if there's already water to the site, I can take that off, so I think there's some protecting up there that needs to.
I don't think it's a 4-inch line, no.
And I don't even know what size it's needed,
Yeah.
but it may not be big enough.
Where does the Red Cross sewer go? Does that go all the way down to Elm Street?
Probably hooks into the line that goes through the Highlands, I guess. I'm thinking that's probably where we have to go, because I talked a little bit with Mark Ponziani, said, what if the state would let us go into the right of way of the walking path, railroad tracks?
Yeah.
And he said he didn't think he'd wanna be at that place in the line, because there's so much pressure, because pretty much all the sewage from town is pushed through there, because you're almost way across the road. So he thought you might have issues going the wrong direction with other things. So it's probably gonna need to be connecting up like Newby Way up on the Highland intersection, which is, that it's upward, for sure.
I'm feeling a little bit of a, I guess, question about the pushback that we might feel from the community at Forsyth, and if we want to, just like we did with the fact sheet, you know, reach out to the people maybe in that area, and I don't know at what point that would happen, if it has to be before we present to the select board or after, but to engage that community and say, this is something that's being considered. I don't know that even those direct neighbors know that this is being.
Some more at the.
I mean, they, right,
January.
yeah, some, but I just before.
And a lot of the
for
letters to
preemptively-
the editor were from that neighborhood.
Okay, so I guess that's the question, do we feel that we've that informed that community?
And I'll add to that, my parents live in that neighborhood, and after our event at the high school, I spoke to my parents and said, so now that you came to that, how do you feel? And my dad actually said, I feel a lot more comfortable now that I know more about what this project is. So I think that's a good idea. Because my dad initially was very hesitant because he lives in that neighborhood and he didn't know. And afterward he said, I feel much better.
I mean, it might be that we just, take that morning and just go put postcards in that neighborhood. To just say, this is the fact sheet, this is what we're doing, just, we wanna make sure that this doesn't blindside it. So, we can talk about it.
Do we do it now or after it goes to the select?
I think I'd wait, cause it may look at like, we're A, presuming something's happening,
Yeah.
or B, we chose a particular site, so
Yeah.
I think I'd wait till after this.
Okay, but maybe keep it in our back, as an idea.
I think at
Okay.
some point it
Okay.
makes sense to do.
Great.
I would also not want them to think that the determination is just
It's
gonna
not.
be theirs,
Yeah,
you know?
right, their vote is as equal to.
Exactly, exactly.
I agree.
Okay. Any more questions?
I just, whatever. If the community center was on the current soccer fields where the baseball field is, and we just built new fields up top, would it bother the community at all?
I think that would be more, if you look at the map, that looked like they were way closer to the houses. It looks like they were much closer, am I wrong? It looked like where they are currently was the more close central.
Well, now my brain's thinking in front of the sledding, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Lower end,
Yeah.
and on the lower end.
Yeah, but what do you do, 140 parking spaces?
Oh, I'm just throwing it out there.
Like right across the street, there's a lot of parking.
So, again, you're saying.
Now I'm saying down below between the basketball court and the baseball.
Isn't that on, is there any, LWCF grants for any of that development, or is it only the?
Only the lower field, nothing on the upper field was built with monies that has any attachment.
No,
But Steve's.
Steve's talking about putting it lower
He's
field.
talking about
Oh,
putting
you
down.
can't touch anything on that.
Yeah, you have to then go through a whole
That was,
conversion
there was
process.
the ice rink where the berm area is, the basketball court, the baseball diamond, the Crosby Field. The parking lot that's to the far right, we had to help build the tennis courts at the high school because to offset having taken that away, because we used to have tennis courts that were built with LWCF. But because of the water table every year, the courts were kept breaking down. So when we made the decision to turn that into a parking lot, we had to go back to the powers that be at the state with LWCF and say, we're gonna participate to give the high school tennis courts, and we donated 30 grand towards the building of the tennis courts.
I think we would have parking issues too.
It's moot anyway, cause you'd still have to put a road up to go up to those. If you had all the.
And people aren't gonna wanna park up there and then walk down to the building.
And Riverside and the woods down there, that's all same kind of money, so, okay.
That you're in the 100-year floodplain there.
I think we-
We're actually losing a fair amount of parking spaces with the sidewalk we're not putting in.
Yeah, looks nice.
We're losing probably about 50.
Oh,
We're gonna have to stagger games much more longer into the day.
Wow, that's gonna be huge come fall and soccer season.
And if there's curbing, there's only gonna be a few exits, now people just pull
Yeah.
There are only 3 exits that will be there now, and there's gonna be guardrail there as well. This was all built with the bike bed committee design. For safety because of the concern of children running out into the road. There have been a couple of close calls in recent years. But we are losing it, so we know that we have to expand times for games on Saturday mornings to spread it out a little bit.
I think this helps for that.
It's good to consider all that space.
So I think we kind of already actually touched that there wasn't any immediate next steps for us, but I think the next step is if we're going to Leslie's point, speed up the meetings is to really start to look at what those meeting dates would be.
Yeah, because Mark, you have all your notes, right? From from us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're good there. So yeah, draft dates around.
I think it's gonna very much depend on you.
I think it's, well, so, it can't be any closer than 2 weeks apart, but so I guess the question is, when in September are we hoping to complete, things? If we did every 3 weeks, I think that puts us close to the middle to end of September to complete everything.
Well, the August 7th meeting is canceled for the select board. So there's only one meeting in August on the 21st. And then in September, the 4th and the 18th are the 2 meetings.
But agenda materials for the 4th would be due by August 26th, roughly. So probably it's more likely the September meeting.
Does our charge go completely through the whole month?
No one's gonna
September.
stop you if you do weeks past. your
I'm just making sure, Mark.
Yeah, so if we, for instance, if our next meeting was on the 11th, and then the following meeting will be on the 1st, although that's more, I mean, Labor Day, correct? So we
Yeah.
Probably have to shift that a day or so, like one way or the other, but if it's that week. And then 1, 2, and then I guess we may go tighten up, because you're saying market material for the second meeting, we have to be in by when?
Second September meeting,
Have to
material
be
need
by
to be
the
roughly
10th.
the 9th,
The 9th, okay.
What about the first October meeting?
that would be fine too, but
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest. When is the first October meeting?
it's like October
Second.
2nd would be the first one.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's
that's very close. It's in the September term.
So for that one, the materials would wanna be in by September 23rd.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would work out in kind of a roughly 3-week separation between meetings instead of, so if we did one, week of, so the 11th, that works for everyone.
I probably can't make that.
I can't do the 11th, I think.
Alright.
And the 4th.
Is there a better day of the week that week,
Maybe.
or are people?
Thursday or Friday.
We're talking the week of August 11th.
I can't do Tuesday either.
The only day that week I can do is Friday. Maybe.
Is the 4th an option? Is that too soon?
This room's not available.
Yeah, it's Barack
Yeah.
Obama's birthday.
Oh, then I'm
I mean, for this size group, no, actually, the 4th is just the conservation committee upstairs, so this room entry is good.
I could, for the next step, the 4th could work or somewhere around that, like, that's not too soon for the next steps that we have to do.
I'm on vacation.
Can other people do the 4th?
Or the 5th, Pam?
I can't, no, the 5th is National Night Out. I'm on
Tuesday.
vacation that week and I'm already coming in on Tuesday night. I'm not coming, I'm sorry. I
No, no, no,
really like
no,
you guys,
no.
but
That's gonna be a busy week.
And
I don't know if I could do the 4th.
The
I
week
work
of the-
driving home then.
No, we could be 11th. I could try to be remote. I just wouldn't be. If I'm the only one for the 11th, the week of the 11th.
I can't do the 11th, I'm gone all week.
the 18th,
Do the 18th.
Do the 18th.
Works for me.
so August 18th.
And maybe what maybe what we could do is I can send out materials for you folks to review and get feedback so that we're not losing 5 weeks between meetings. Because again, it's gonna be a comparative cost on the 2 versus 1, and then it's gonna be some updates on some of the massing, building massing.
Okay, and then when do we wanna meet again,
So
after
then
that?
it'd be September 8th.
Correct. Yep.
And that's not Labor Day, so.
Yeah.
I can do the 8th.
CPIC is here at 4, Mark, but they'll be gone by 5:15.
No, they meet 4 to 6.
Conservation Commission is upstairs at 5:30.
Yep.
Bike Ped's over at the other hall.
Push it to 6.
6 or can we do 6 or 6:15? Would we have to do 6?
You can do 6.
If we did 6, we could have this one.
Yep.
Yeah,
You guys good with that?
so August 18th at 5:15. September 8th at 6 o'clock. And then that would mean we'd come together once more on the 22nd.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that we can have a finish.
Try to pull everything together and.
It's my
start
birthday.
thinking about-
Really?
Well, that's perfect.
No, this I'd rather be.
You sure you wanna be here for
We'll
your
go to
birthday?
Dairy Queen beforehand, how about that?
I'll pick you up.
26th.
And back
So-
to 5:15 on the 22nd, there's nothing, no meetings
So-
that night.
with information then being needed to go to the select board the next day, is that okay?
Yeah, right, well, anything as long as there's nothing radical.
Yeah.
And at that point, it shouldn't be, but,
Okay.
so we're kind of finishing things up in anticipation of getting the packet ready for the select board.
And honestly, if we can get it till noon on the 24th, that's okay, so.
I'm telling Rose, she said
That doesn't mean it's wrong.
I have a clarifying question. Who is presenting to the select board on the second? Does the information come from Mark as well as us? Is it a joint presentation? That was my thought.
Would be joint?
Yeah, joint, I think,
Yeah.
probably, I think
Okay.
if you folks can give the context and I can be the technical person
Okay.
that
That's what I
figures
thought,
all
okay.
They're gonna have quick questions, but Mark will be a lot
Yes.
faster at
that.
responding
Mark,
to.
can you keep October 2nd on your?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What time is this select board meeting?
That's a 6:30.
6:30.
And we decided that August 4th was not a good option, right?
Good, I think that works. Okay.
So the week before August 18th, we should expect to see something?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, we, I'll put it on the, week of the 11th, I'm sending out an update. That's not before. That would be fantastic.
We're all set with the.
I can't get in to book the room, so I'll do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, come out.
I think the only other question before he takes up is, do we get a response, the next item?
On the-
Funding.
Fundraising,
yeah.
groups, I don't,
We got
so
Melanie.
Ronnie, I'm trying to think of Ronnie's last name, Moose,
Yeah,
or-
she's committed to another
Yeah.
organization, actually, Six Rivers.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Exactly. How long ago was that inquiry? Only because I'm curious what Six Rivers latest is.
wasn't that long ago, within the past 2 months.
All right.
I just Googled and I found a woman who happened to be in Brunswick. I thought, oh, great, my backyard. And she's got 20+ years of experience. But, you know, my concern is if we have to go that route and hire someone for a capital campaign, if the select board goes for it, it would be nice to have, comparison cost wise. So, yeah, I'm just looking for someone else.
I will ask one of the clients that has used service in the past, so see if I can get
Okay.
at least a lead for you on.
Cool.
somebody that does that, so.
All right.
Thank you both. Yes. So do we,
Yes.
we'll
there.
get Chris the clerk?
Yeah, I'll email tomorrow.
Okay.
We can move on to funding discussion as they exit, but you guys are free to stay if you'd like.
We're not.
And we're there to buy the first brownies from the bake sale, but.
The door's only open for so long.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Since 6 is the only thing left, can we add in the Y visit to that as well? So we should probably go back to any changes to this agenda.
What do you think about this? Yes, can we make changes to the agenda, please?
Yes. So on number 6, we'll add Brunswick YMCA visit, if that's possible.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept that.
I'll second that emotion.
All in favor?
Second motion.
It's getting a little emotional tonight.
Perfect.
All in favor, yes. So Leslie and Steve and I met with 3 people from the landing from Supply. Leslie, because she had made the initial connection. I thought it was a really good meeting. It was very informative. They were super helpful with information. They had the COO there. And she actually led the feasibility study, so she did her homework before the meeting, so that was a nice little surprise.
Very smart.
The other lady is the new incoming, what's her title, in the back, why? In charge.
CEO, I think.
There was CEO,
Back
COO, and then the manager of.
Of the landing,
Of the land.
of the Brunswick landing, yeah. So, yeah, so some of the big takeaways were definitely with the pool, to model it on Wiscasset's. And as I said, immediately they were like, no way, no hot tub, and I'm like, oh yeah, we X'd that a long time ago. What else?
I read them a little different than you, but that's just me, but I thought it went very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were kind of flip-floppy about, the pool. So at first they were like, it's gonna be a headache and it's a lot of work, and then when we started talking a little bit about potential partnerships and what that looked like, then they were suddenly like, oh, pool's great, you know, like, so I got that feeling that they're a business, and I get that. So it was good, it was definitely good to meet with them, and they had a lot of information, they did give us a lot of information.
We did.
Probably more than we expected them to hand out.
I agree that they are interested and available in having a working relationship with us. That they are more than happy to offer us any knowledge that they have. They're saying collectively, they've got, many, many years of experience, and they're open book as far as helping us. And so that we don't have to have, they can help us with any challenges that we might be having. So they were clear about that. I think with the pool, they were saying that it's not a moneymaker, but it brings a lot of people in to have memberships. So people will come because we have a pool, and they'll use all the other types of things that we have there. So that was something. They also talked about sort of different ways, that maybe we work together over the years, that there's lots of different, they're not available for fundraising, but there would be a potential to have them help us learn about programming, maybe do some of the programming, have a contract with them for a certain period of time that we might, while we're getting our feet on the ground, that they can teach us, that we contract with them to do some of the programming. And then, we evaluate that after a few years and see maybe we don't need that anymore, kind of thing. So we did ask a little bit, like, with the pool, like 2 guards minimum, guards, not guards, but lifeguards, yes, lifeguards. You've gotta have maintenance and cleaners, aquatic director, welcome person, director of building programs. So we tried to get a little bit of like the enormity of the staffing issues, and that they have that knowledge base. So really, a fitness attendant, as far as the gym and the walking track, you don't need staff necessarily unless there's an activity, like things like that, which maybe you guys have that, and you may know
You're
so
gonna,
much.
a lot of that you're gonna build when you build your pro forma for the building. Once you get it, then you're gonna go in and you're gonna break
Yes.
things down
Yes.
with programmers and
Yeah.
that type of thing,
So those are the kinds of conversation that we had. We talked a little bit about hours and what kind of the different buildings and what hours they have. So there was discussion, and I think this comes back to Booth Bay as well, is Booth Bay, yes, Darren Scott. is, you know, for example, like at what point do you have to have supervision, what age child needs supervision and doesn't need supervision, like in Damascotta, up to fifth grade, you need supervision, or through fifth grade, you need supervision, sixth grade, you do not, but they have so many programs for the fifth, this is Damascotta, but for the fifth grader, up to fifth grade, so that they really know the lay of the land, you know, those kinds of things, so, you know, and other takeaways maybe from them as well as other discussions is really understanding your programming, like as we're moving forward in the next few meetings, we may want to start having discussions about the programming that we're envisioning for the, for us, because even when we toured the back landing after the meeting, they had childcare in a conference room because they did, I mean, it's a remake of the building, so, but they're making it work in a conference room, providing childcare while the parents are working out, you know, like things like that. Like I think that maybe in our next discussions, that might be something that would help us out in the longer run. Like, do we really have, as we're thinking about programming, do we really have the spaces that we're gonna need? So, but really the takeaway for the Y was working relationship, happy to have a working relationship with us. And I felt that they were quite transparent and helpful and informed and informative, so.
They would definitely like to help serve Topsham area because obviously they're not in our area.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they know they're not currently serving our community as much as they would like to, so. I think in whatever way they can, they're interested in helping us. But maybe we could add that to the next agenda, like maybe a programming conversation, I don't know if Pam, I kind of lean to you on that.
I think that's a good idea.
Personally, I think next agenda is too soon.
Yeah, but do you think we should do it before the select board, as far as, only because it's gonna affect our space, but maybe the space is.
And one of the things the select board asked for is an estimate too of operating expenses too, so not just construction costs, which is kind of tied into what you're saying.
Who does that? Does Mark do that?
Well, even just the information that you had, the pool needs an aquatic director, you listed
Oh,
all
so
five
not
things.
necessarily actual numbers, but just things that would require an operating
We
budget.
can come up with
everything.
operating costs after we come up with
Right.
those.
We should come up with a list of what the positions are, probably need one, maybe two custodians for the building, so that's,
Well, that's,
say, 70,000 each with benefits.
that brings up another item that we liked was the 24/7 key card access for certain areas of the landing. Obviously not if they
Which
had a pool.
impacts the building, right, this is like the
The
stuff
design
that
of
needs.
the security, absolutely.
And insurance. Insurance is big, evidently, when you have that kind of access.
Pam, do you think that if a couple of us came to meet with you, would that be something that sort of like as far as staffing? Is that kind of
We
up
could
your-
certainly
in your
build
wheelhouse?
a scheme, so to speak, of what kind of things we're thinking of. I mean, quite honestly, the design we're putting together, we really don't have a daycare or a childcare area. We're talking about fitness, but we haven't talked about where to have childcare.
Yeah.
So those are things that we probably need to have Mark think a little more quickly about.
And I'm not saying childcare isn't needed in this community, but this becomes a harder and harder sell if we're going from a building, it's gonna be very substantial cost, to now adding 10 people to town payroll.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's easier for people to say, yeah, that's the bridge too far.
I do think that's a big concern, and the space as well, and one of the questions we had was from a lot of the home daycare people, are you gonna be doing daycare there? So I think those are things we have to consider when we're looking at this.
And Damascotta had just, pay a couple for an hour for your child to be watched while it wasn't.
And I think it's worth it to your point, I think it's worth it to consider having a dedicated space for providing the 1 hour at a time daycare while a parent is using the facility, because if we're using a meeting room
Right.
for daycare,
Well, there might be, my thought is, the way you get around it is that you offer supervised care at specific times when the gym is free.
Yeah.
When, you know, when a room is free, that you can have somebody go to it. You don't have to have a room 24/7 that is childcare.
And maybe.
So you create a program that, you know, mornings for moms, like 9 to 11, there's a space in the gym that's available. That's kind of how you do it.
And I also think about the end, so there's the walking track and the end where the gymnastics stuff is. Say we have that closed off with like a glass wall where parents are doing their exercising, they're walking, they can see their kid through it. It's a multi-use space where it can be gymnastics, but it's maybe contained for childcare too, you know, multi-use spaces. Yeah, so I think whoever wants to have that conversation, maybe that could be a smaller conversation or bigger, I don't care, whatever.
I mean, I think initially, starting out too, a lot of the programs might be better as partnerships, like the library already says the team librarian that we pay 85% of the cost of. So maybe it's the team librarian, talk to the library, think there's a programming you'd like to do for 3 hours, a couple days a week, or whatever it might be.
Right.
And then we kind of leverage the existing stuff rather than, all of a sudden, now we gotta hire someone to run a teen center or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the landings relationship. Did they hear about what we're doing? And they offered you guys, or did you guys say, we wanna pick your brain and you made the
My
connection?
husband works out at the landing
Oh,
and
okay.
was just chatting with the executive director one time about the community.
Oh, okay.
And he said, well, my wife is on the committee, and she said, oh, I'd love to just talk with them and see what they're doing and how we can be helpful, and if there's any sort of, you know, because they have a desire to meet the needs of communities,
Gotcha.
they made that connection and, yeah,
Well,
so she reached out.
one of the questions we're gonna be asked at the select board meeting is, who do you envision managing? So that's always been an option potentially to look forward, to look into, and we just started the conversation, so.
Mark, do you have any updates from Six River? Like, are they still using the building? Are they still like in business or whatever?
As far as I know, I don't know if Pam's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've, Izzy has reached out to me and they're looking for fall programming space up there, that type of thing. I don't think they've made any determination. Have you, yeah.
They definitely still use the building, but my understanding, my understanding is that they are no longer looking to raise any more money, and they're actually looking to find a way, basically be creative to provide the ice rink, maybe not at their location.
So I know at one point we had talked about, you know, if this happens and everything, to potentially have that, like as an off-site location, whether we're holding some classes or whatnot at their location. Cause they're not using the inside of the building that much, right?
In the wintertime they are.
In the winter time,
Yeah, in the spring and the summer, they're not, it's hard to get people in there. We tried to do a yoga class in there. They don't have small classrooms, it is the turf room.
Yeah,
It's primarily that type,
Yeah.
so we didn't get a lot of response to that. To do that, they do some, they try to do some weekday morning activities during the school year up there, that they have, but there's also, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Midcoast Gymnastics, that's on the corner of what used to be Midcoast Gymnastics, which is on the corner of Winter and Bickford.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of birthday parties and family gym time and that type of thing. And she came to one of our January meetings and was part of that, and they're expanding.
So are you saying Six Rivers is not gonna build the building that they were dreaming about?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hiccups that they've learned about the land, and what they can and can't do there, unfortunately.
I was just kind of thinking outside of the box, if we could you know, and thinking of not having a dedicated space at a potential community center building, if we could partner with maybe the place on Winter Street or maybe Six Rivers and actually have off-site daycare. You just get off for an hour or two, you go work out, swim or whatever. Back and pick up your kid. Just a,
Right.
yeah,
I don't think they're at that point right now.
yeah,
I think they're really trying to figure out what direction.
what the direction, yeah.
So is that kind of a conversation best happening here, where we brainstorm when we get to it, or is it a better small group conversation?
In regards to,
Getting to the programming and the ideas around that, I don't know, and then how that might impact our
I think
buildings.
you take a look, I think we can get some schematas from South Portland with what they have for, you know, like their walking track, they have someone who, you sign in with a pass and you just go upstairs and do your own walking track. Their pickleball, you have to buy a pass and you check in at the counter before you enter the gym. There's an actual supervisor in the pickleball court. So I think you have to kind of play out here's our gym, this is our schedule, and this is how we wanna, you know, each season, take a look at 4 seasons and what each season would entail with what you're gonna do for programming.
And that's what we need to offer in September to the select board.
Oh, I don't think they want it.
I mean, they want some idea of what it's gonna cost for operating expenses.
Yeah.
But maybe it's, here's the budget in South Portland, here's the budget in Damascus, you know, maybe it's a couple of these, you see how much comes in for revenue and how much goes out, and give us a sense.
I mean, I've grabbed booklets and pamphlets from every place, so it has like what they're charging and everything, so.
But do we have the actual operating expenses from any of them?
No.
Well, we do
It's
have-
very interesting because it's hard to get them, like Wiscasset, you cannot get their operating expenses.
It's all lumped together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of all over the place, back and forth and that type of thing. Lisbon, when I tried to get their operating, which they don't even, I mean, they're in an old school and have a lot of other services in there. Theirs is fragmented in 4 different places. I think we could get it from South Portland.
I was
That's the
thinking,
only one I feel like could really give us, this is what it costs to operate.
yeah, we had that
Anthony.
conversation
Yeah,
when
and
we were
Anthony
there.
was more than happy.
I didn't catch the why offered it to us.
I
Yeah,
don't think we,
that would
I don't
be a-
think we specifically asked, and I,
With the 2 locations, I don't know if that would be a
here's
comparison.
apples and oranges.
No, I mean, more of the bath why,
Yeah,
for sure.
if it's gonna be because they're.
I think you're looking
The
at,
expenses are gonna be.
it really. A Y has a lot of overhead that you don't even see. And that's, I mean, that's the only thing there, and, I mean, I heard you guys say that you liked the fairgrounds for the sake of being closer to the schools. Well, that means one of the things you have to talk about for programming is what type of programs you're gonna run for kids after school. You can't just leave them free, you're gonna have to have certain things, and I think that's what Mark was getting at. Some of that would be partnering maybe with the teen librarian at the library that could come, that would be partnerships like that that you're gonna explore and build on.
So maybe we just start out with a couple of people from the committee to start doing that digging, and then volunteers.
The minimum thing is probably school, custodial help here,
Mhm.
in front desk people,
Yeah,
you know, cause even if Pam and Kelly are doing a lot of the other stuff, you're
right.
gonna have to have people sitting there, you're gonna have to have custodial help.
Yeah, I think, it seems like a lot of the places are like part-time and they switch off with front desk people.
Yep.
Custodial,
They said they do not have a full-time maintenance person, I think that was at the landing, they have 2 full-time directors. But I think that we need to piecemeal, like, take all the little pieces of information we have, imagine the size of the building that we're creating and the community that we're supporting, and get that information together, so.
was it Damascus that they said custodial only comes like twice a week? That's sticking in my mind,
I
it's
think-
for somewhere,
I think minimum is 1 full-time position.
yeah,
You look at with benefits, 75,000 a year.
South Portland said that they don't have a designated one for the community center, it was like a town position and they like rotated or something like that.
So in South Portland, what they do is there is a maintenance department.
Yeah.
And that maintenance department covers every building in the district, so our assistant manager. No, I'm joking. Poor Jeff, what he's dealing with
No,
already.
but just if you're trying to keep that gym floor clean, you do a walking track and
Yeah.
and you've got restrooms open to the public,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a full-time position.
of the meeting? Maybe you'd be able to find
But-
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but what's up, South Portland does not have a janitor in their building. They have staff that comes in and it's a rotating schedule of who comes in each day to clean. It's not, there is someone that has to be pool certified to manage the pool chemicals and all of that, and that's almost a full-time position, I
Aquatic
think.
director,
Yeah.
you probably need an
Yeah,
aquatic
the
director.
pool has a director of their own.
Right.
That manages and does the testing and does all of that pool operations. Then you have lifeguards and all the rest of it, and swim instructors, and those are part-time positions, but they are.
If we have 3 committee members and Pam and Mark, are we allowed to do that? We got too many of us. Okay, can we do that? I offer you offer.
I'll do it.
You're busy.
So are you.
I'm
Not me, I'm all life.
I got another month off, I'm good. Okay, let's try to work that out. I think that would be great. I don't know how many people is a productive, like the ideal is for production.
Just so I can let you know that I'm not gonna be available till after the 12th to meet of August, just because I'm gonna be on vacation the weekend, Kelly's away, and I have to cover office and program stuff.
Which is that Friday?
The 14th, the 15th.
Or what's the Monday? The Monday, 17th?
It's 18.
The 18th, which would be
The
the
day
day of our.
That's okay. I think I could do the 18th.
That's a Monday, yeah,
Like during the day or?
that would work for me.
Probably.
If we decide upon the rotating schedule like South Portland, can I be the one that tells Kelly that she's clearing bathrooms a certain week?
I mean, it's kind of potato. It's like when we have 2 custodians that do every town facility right now, and so we could add a third one and then include this in the mix, or you have a dedicated person to build.
Well, that's where
But I can guarantee it's gonna add a 40-hour position
of course.
for building.
I
absolutely.
guarantee that Kelly will walk out the door.
But, you know,
But this is gonna be what the select board wants to know who's gonna be in charge of the building. Whether it's the town, or whether the town hires another person, or whether it's a company, or it's, so, those are all.
But it's gonna be 40 hours of custodial staff, which
100%.
benefits
Absolutely.
75,000.
So where in the conversation, I'm trying to say, where in the conversation with the meetings with Mark and the next 3 meetings, do we wanna make sure we've covered all of our ideas for programming? And making sure that that connects back to the building that he's creating.
I think
And I don't wanna
next
hit it here
time,
in 2
I
days.
think you have to have that ready for the next time when we meet with him.
Which means we need to have it before the 18th.
Before the 18th.
I think we all have to have homework at least.
Mark, would there be like a governing board, or would there just be like a overall manager?
I guess it depends if it's, so like the library is a hybrid. So there's actually a 501c3 that runs Topsham Public Library, that runs Topsham Public Library. The town owns the building, does the maintenance on the building, and pays roughly 85% of the budget of the library. But the library board controls things. So that might be one model, is have a nonprofit that does the operating stuff and the town is the building or something. Another one is to have it as a town department, in which case it probably wouldn't, you might have like say Brunswick has a recreation committee, or I guess Topsham used to, they will give input into things, but it doesn't actually control the facilities or something.
Well, Brunswick does control. That's the difference.
So negotiable, how
Yeah.
it would work, but there's different models and things.
Okay.
Personally, I like the idea of it being one or the other. The library has a lot of headaches because of the fact that it's so much get your feet in two ponds.
Cause they're a hybrid system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we finally straightened out, for some reason, we were doing their payroll, but it was all
Yeah.
getting done out of the town's tax ID number, which caused all kinds of
Yeah,
issues.
I
We
remember
finally
that.
separated that this year.
Yeah.
But I think if you're expecting the town to face most of the costs, it should be a town department, I think, so that the select board and the townspeople get control over the budget. If you're expecting the town to pay a relatively small percent of the budget, and it's gonna be a lot of fundraising and stuff to run it, or it's gonna have its own operating money, and like a Y sort of,
Mhm.
then maybe it
Yeah,
makes
you get
sense to have
more.
the town just own the building and the organization. And runs it.
Gotcha.
I think that's why fairs have boards of trustees, because you have a think tank to think about programming and where you want the money to go, but then you have someone in charge of actually making
Day-to-day
it
business.
happen.
But the worst thing for the town would be a relationship, say that the town gets a bill but doesn't have the control. So I think whoever is the one responsible for coming up with the money should have the control over how it's run, in my mind.
And there are lots of communities that have advisory boards, so that you have a director and an assistant director and a lot of part-time people that program and cover, do everything.
Yeah.
But you have an advisory board that comes together and takes a look at, like, in South Portland, there's a senior advisory board that handles just that stuff that happened in the senior area. Now, we're not being senior specific in ours, at least right now, we
Right.
haven't talked that way. So that might be a subset of the program, of the advisory board is 2 or 3 people that are specific to what we do for seniors in our center, because there is People Plus and there are other places
Right.
and that might, so I think those are things we'd have to discuss when we get together.
Yeah, cause I kind of like that idea because it would generate more community involvement. And where I think the town does an excellent job, I also think that just like us being on the committees, you get more input from someone who's kind of like outside of the everyday.
Well, and you
Aspect
need
of
that,
it, you
I mean,
know?
if you're gonna have a facility like that you
Yeah.
have to program it and keep it going, you're gonna need an advisory board
Yeah.
that gives you ideas and helps you to work with and cover certain things.
Right, cause you're gonna have so many different gears
Aspects.
going
Yeah.
at one time and.
That was one of my takeaways from the focus group last January, is that it might be nice to have a rec commission of some sort. Because
Yeah,
there was a lot of good programming ideas that were coming up, but I think those things best come from the community.
right, and because you're essentially a 2-person operation, you know, if you can have people step up and volunteer or say, hey, I have this connection, we can make this happen, you know, and take some of the load off you guys and offer, you know, maximize what we can offer to the community. Like Leslie wants to teach class, right? Sure. Yoga or something? That,
So do we need a second subcommittee to have that conversation? Or do we wanna have that as an agenda item to make sure that we spend 10 minutes together at a meeting talking about programming and making sure that it needs to be,
I
right?
think we should probably get together and just kind of have a schematic.
yeah.
You want a second group to do that?
No, we'll have our first
All
group
one
just to talk about the programming.
All one meeting, on 18th.
Well, we have to do that before the 18th.
But the meeting is currently scheduled for the day of 18th.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to get together before then, don't you think?
So I
That
think the
is
issue was that
something.
Pam couldn't meet before then, is that correct, Pam?
I'm away the 4th through the 12th.
But that wouldn't necessarily stop us from
Right, so I
getting
think
together
although
and
it would
putting
be
some
great
notes
to have.
down and.
So that means it's the second meeting.
Yes.
Yes, got it. So who wants to do that?
You guys wanna get together on the 31st? July?
First,
It's
before
a
you're gone.
Thursday. Wanna try that?
I can do that.
We do that.
I think it should be other people who are, I'm already doing it. It's involved everywhere.
I'm confused, so wait, what do you mean
No,
there's a
I'm
second
really
one?
confused.
Cause I
I thought we
This
were
was
meeting on the
meeting we
day
were
of
gonna do on
the
the 18th, and now I heard Lynn say she felt it should happen before then, because we're meeting with Mark that
I think we're
night.
talking about, I am talking about two different topics.
Yeah.
One is operations that we need to present to the select board. What kind of staff do we need? But maybe that ties into what kind of programming
Oh,
are we
I
going
think
to
it
do?
totally does.
And therefore, what kind of buildings
It's
do
the
we
same meeting.
Yeah.
yes, I think
Got it.
there's only
Now.
one meeting. Okay.
need? One meeting.
September 31st.
That's
You said I'm
going
not
out
allowed to do
Thursday the 31st, does that
Yeah, that's
possibly
me.
work for people?
I
think it
honestly
works for
don't
me.
know.
Leslie does never come, so she's not 100% sure, but it works for me anytime.
I'm gonna suggest at 10 o'clock the 31st. Upstairs.
Definitely
I
can.
did something with the interns that day, but that's okay.
Are they around still?
All day?
I think they're supposed to go to Augusta.
Are they in Augusta that day?
Yes.
All gone. Right?
But you can have your
Morning,
space meeting,
afternoon,
though.
better.
Oh, I can't do days.
Okay.
So but I'm willing to submit anything in email, I guess.
I would say that anyone from the committee that has any input or thoughts to it, you can just send an email, right?
And we'll just bring up this.
And then we'll just include it in when we meet.
Okay.
Does that make
Good.
sense? Yep.
If you don't,
I
you
will
don't.
email if I'm not able to go to that meeting.
Well, you should definitely, because then maybe somebody else wants to sit.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
Well,
You're not.
you can always just, if you're gonna wanna have 4 people, just notice it as a meeting, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Once it's
Not like
on
you
the
can't
calendar, booked
more,
and
just have
says community center meeting to discuss,
I won't be able to make it in the daytime unless it's raining,
we'll see what we can do about
and it's fine. Yes, I like your little subcommittee that you created.
Well, even still, there's 3 committee members, so if anybody else wants to join, it's open.
Alright, I'm out of training.
Alright, are we good to move on?
Are you now taking it over again?
No, sorry, I'm just trying to keep things flowing. Sorry.
Yes, we need to review minutes from the June meeting.
And move we accept them.
Second,
Boom.
all those in favor?
And I think we covered all the action steps, Allison, unless you got something else that.
I will tell you what I have written down. Harriman will continue to develop the cooperative cost schemes. Goal for the committee to determine overall preferred design. Next presentation of the select board on October 2nd. The committee will watch for emails from Harriman to provide additional feedback for the week of the 11th, prior to meeting with them on the 18th. And a draft programming session will be a small group conversation on July 31st.
Thank you.
The next.
10 a.m.
it. Is the afternoon
She is on
easier?
vacation.
I mean, is the afternoon easier? That's fine.
No, I think the 10 a.m. is fine.
Okay, great. And we already have our next meeting time. So I motion to adjourn.
A second.